constitutional changes allow him to stay in power for life, demonstrators want him to go.
He should step aside and let someone else lead. You can't keep ruling us by force forever. Let someone else prove what they can do.
Demonstrators blocked roads all over the city and in several other towns after activists called for 3 days of peaceful protests starting on Thursday. The rising cost of living has also fueled discontent. Togo's the 10th poorest country in the world.
All we want is Faure Gnassingbé to step down. We'll keep protesting, even after 3 days, until he finally leaves power.
The crackdown by police and soldiers hasn't kept people off the streets. Amnesty International says dozens were arrested and many tortured following demonstrations 3 weeks ago. The government says it hasn't received any official complaints of torture, but it's something the regional bloc
Welcome to African Spotlight 24, your premier source for news and current affairs from across the continent. We're glad you're here. If you're new to our channel, please subscribe, like, and turn on notification to stay up to date with the latest news and analysis. Your support helps us reach more people. Disclaimer: the content of this video is based on credible, publicly available information and is intended for educational, analytical, and informational purposes only. African Spotlight 24 does not promote hate, violence, misinformation, or political unrest. Our goal is to deliver thoughtful insights, highlight local voices, and encourage informed conversations throughout Africa.
ECOWAS has frequently condemned Gnassingbé's government for. His rule followed that of his father, Gnassingbé Eyadema, who was in power for 38 years. Hundreds of people have been killed and thousands forced from their homes during decades of crackdowns on dissent. Last month, a popular singer, Amron, called for people to mobilize against the government in a social media video. He was arrested the following day. After his release, 2 weeks later, he apologized to Gnassingbé and said he was seeking psychiatric treatment in hospital. That hasn't deterred the demonstrators.
Faure, please set Togo free. This country doesn't belong to you or the Gnassingbé family. Just let go of the country.
The government said anyone spreading false information or causing disturbance will face the full force of the law. Activists have called for the protests to continue until Saturday. Malcolm Webb, Al Jazeera.
Our next story is about a popular uprising. Citizens are protesting against their own government. This has become a common sight across the world. We've seen it in Peru, in France, in the Sudan, in Palestine, and now in Togo. The Togolese people have been protesting for weeks. They're angry over how their country is being run. And Togo's government has responded with an iron fist. Reports say at least 37 people have been killed, dozens more injured. There have also been arrests. Opposition leaders and activists are behind bars. Internet services have also been suspended. And the government has responded with an iron fist. "We were inside our house when we heard gunshots," said one resident. "We went out to see what was happening. That's when we saw the body of a young man lying on the ground." The UN has called for dialogue and the African Union has demanded the respect for human rights. They've defied the heavy boots of the state. Is this the end of Togo's great dynasty? India, too, has expressed concern. New Delhi has called for a peaceful resolution of the crisis. I'm quoting a statement that was made by Amnesty International. Togo's security forces have unlawfully killed at least 37 people. They've arbitrarily detained hundreds of protesters and bystanders. They've used excessive force, including live ammunition, to disperse the crowds. He too served under Faure Gnassingbé. He too resigned last year. He too joined the opposition. And today he is in jail. He's been charged with plotting to overthrow the government. All three leaders are now in jail. The question is, who will speak up for them? There are also allegations of torture and ill treatment of those arrested. All of this happened between June and 16th. That's what Amnesty said. While the world grapples with war and economic crises, what happens in Togo seems to have slipped under the radar. If you ask the people of Togo, They would want the world to listen to their story. It is home to around 8 million people. 8 million people have been pushed to the margins. Their stories must be told. The foreign elements, he said, are trying to destabilize Togo. They don't even have basic drugs to treat gunshot wounds. Doctors say many patients are still dying. So here's what people are asking for. The people of Togo want justice. They want accountability. They want an independent investigation. They want the international community to intervene. They also want help to hold their leaders accountable. They want to bring their leaders to justice. But eyewitnesses tell a different story. It is the Togolese army who opened fire, said one witness. They shot tear gas canisters. They were shooting directly at us. Another resident said, people died when they tried to flee the gunfire. Some collapsed and died instantly. Others died on their way to the hospitals. Let me show you a picture from a neighborhood in Togo. It's a picture from a funeral. A coffin is being carried on a barricade. This is what funerals look like in Togo. They're becoming high-risk events. More than a dozen people have been killed during such events. There is no outrage on social media. There are no hashtags trending. No diplomatic missions have issued travel advisories. No country has evacuated its citizens. Today, the 19th, things have only gotten worse. Meanwhile, internet services remain down. Mobile internet has been suspended. Messaging apps, they're blocked. Even video conferencing apps are blocked. And this internet shutdown is not temporary. These pictures are from a neighborhood called Bestie. Homes have been burnt, corpses strewn across the floor, blood stains on the walls. This is what the neighborhood looks like right now. Homes have been turned into morgues. People are too afraid to go out. They fear another crackdown. Those who did venture out were carrying coffins. They wanted to bury their dead. But even that has become a risky task. There have been instances of exhumation, of bodies being dug up, of people being killed while trying to bury their dead. It has been going on for almost 3 weeks now. Internet services were suspended on June 8th. Social media platforms have been banned. There's no word yet on when these services will be restored. He was bleeding. There was a group of soldiers nearby. One of the former prime ministers is this man, Nabi Yudi. He served under Faure Gnassingbé, the current president. He resigned last year, citing differences with the president. Days later, he launched a movement. He wanted constitutional reforms. He wanted electoral reforms. And today he is languishing in a Togolese jail. Same with the journalist. His name is Baptiste Gontru. He runs a news website. His publication has been critical of the government, especially the president's third-term bid. In April, he published an article. It said President Gnassingbé had violated the constitution. The article also warned of looming protests. Days later, Baptiste was arrested. He was charged with spreading fake news. They were beating people who were trying to help the young man. They ordered us to leave. That's when I saw another young man. He had been shot in the back. There was nothing we could do. We couldn't call for help. The soldiers would have probably killed him. Another resident told the media. The shooting continued throughout the day. We couldn't bury the dead or take the wounded to the hospital. Most of the people killed were young men, but there were also women and children among the dead. According to Amnesty International, at least 37 people have been killed, dozens more injured. There have also been arrests. Opposition leaders and activists are behind bars. Security forces have been accused of using excessive force. There are allegations of torture and ill treatment. The protests first broke out after a controversial constitutional amendment. The Togolese parliament passed it in 2019. It allowed President Faure Gnassingbé to seek re-election. The narrative so far has been dominated by the West and China. The former colonial power, France, has condemned the violence. But Togo's ruling party blames Western nations for the unrest. They say Western nations are trying to destabilize Togo. Beijing, too, has jumped onto the narrative. China says it supports Togo in its fight against separatism and terrorism. Now, technically, there was nothing wrong with the move. Constitutional amendments are part of every democracy. But what followed was not. First, there were these images that emerged from Lomé, the capital city of Togo. The streets were barricaded. Black smoke filled the air, tires were burnt. Next came the reports. They spoke about extrajudicial killings, arbitrary detentions, sexual violence. And since then, the situation has only worsened. So why are people protesting? What are they asking for? And where is the international community? Hello and welcome to Gravitas Plus. Faure Gnassingbé has been the president of Togo for 2 decades. His party has been in power for 5 decades. The current unrest began in May this year. A coalition of opposition parties had announced a series of protests. They wanted changes in the electoral law. They also wanted reforms to the constitution, and many of them have demanded early elections. In response, the government amended the constitution again. The new changes allow President Gnassingbé to extend his term indefinitely. He can rule till whenever he wants to. So you can imagine how angry the people are. The situation escalated on June 8th. That's when the president declared a state of emergency. Security forces have been given extraordinary powers. They've been given powers to use force, to restrict movement, to even search private homes without a warrant. Internet services have also been suspended. The idea is to stop the spread of misinformation. At least that's what the government says. In recent days, the protests have intensified. Demonstrators have blocked roads. They've set up barricades. They've clashed with security forces. We've compiled some eyewitness accounts for you. Listen to what they have to say. These stories have come under sharp focus because they're not getting enough attention. In the midst of all of this, the United Nations has called for restraint. But here's something that the world is watching. For the first time ever, Togo's people have dared to challenge the establishment. You've been listening to eyewitness accounts of what's happening in Togo. Togo's government has been cracking down hard. Here's what the internet looks like in Togo right now. It's shut. Social media sites, they're blocked. Let me show you some pictures from Lomé, the capital city. Opposition leaders, meanwhile, have been charged with treason. 2 former prime ministers have been arrested. A journalist is also among the detainees. Then we have the case of another former prime minister. This man, Gilchrist Olympio. That's what the world wants to know. Togo's crisis has received very little attention. And let me tell you this, Togo is not just any country. Togo's health minister has admitted this. He admitted this in parliament. He blamed the violence on foreign elements. Those who survived the gunshots are now struggling to get treatment. Hospitals in Lomé are running out of medicines. What should the world do? Must Togo's story be swept under the rug? Or must the international community step in?
Thank you for watching African Spotlight 24, where we bring you Africa's stories as they happen when they matter most. If you found value in today's coverage, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an update from across the continent. We're here to inform, inspire, and amplify the voice of Africa, and we're just getting started. Until next time, stay informed, stay proud, and stay with African Spotlight 24, where Africa tells its story.